Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and thanks for all the work you've put into getting us to this point in this budget. I'm going to support this budget, Mr. Chairman. There's things that I would do differently if I had my way, but the fact is this budget begins to confront the fiscal mess that has been years in the making, and so I consider that progress. And it's been quite a fiscal mess. Spending has more than doubled since 2000. Our debt has more than doubled just since 2007. In 2007, our debt, about $9 trillion, was about 62% of our total economic output. It's now $18 trillion, more than 100% of our annual economic output. And the fact is, any honest evaluation of where we are fiscally as a Federal government, it shows clearly that we're on an unsustainable path. And when you're on an unsustainable path, if you don't enact the reforms that are needed to get on a sustainable path, then you are inviting a fiscal crisis, and that's what's going to happen if we don't make the reforms we need. Now, President Obama gave us his vision of a 10-year budget. He takes a budget that is in crisis and makes it worse. He has massive spending increases. The President would project and would call for spending to increase even faster than the economy grows, which means the government, under his vision, would consume an ever larger portion of our total economic output. He has proposed a major additional round of tax increases, another $1.7 trillion, above and beyond the $1.8 trillion that he's already responsible for. And along the way, despite all the taxes, the excessive spending is so great that he would add yet another $6 trillion to our nation's debt. So the President's put out a budget. It's more spending, more taxes, more debt, and that's the wrong path. So we've got an alternative, Mr. Chairman. Our budget, as you know, it balances by 2025, does that by eliminating much of the overspending. It modestly reduces spending as a percentage of our total economic output. It significantly reduces our debt as a share of the economy. It actually begins, although very modestly, it does begin to pay down our debt. And the combination of those things that I just mentioned assuredly, guaranteed, lead to greater economic growth than we would otherwise have. And that's the most important thing that we're doing here. It's only in Washington that a budget like this could be considered radical, right? We have a budget that modestly cuts spending in 1 of the 10 years. Spending grows in 9 of the 10 years. It takes 10 years for us to get this budget to balance. On average, spending grows about 3% per year. That's more than I'd prefer. But it's a little bit less than the rate of the economic growth, and so total spending diminishes very slightly as a percentage of our total economy, and somehow that's considered extreme. It's not, but I do want to stress the most important and constructive thing we can do, in addition to getting on a sustainable fiscal path, is to promote policies that will encourage maximum economic growth. So as I've said before, I think a slight curb in the rate of growth of spending, which is all we can claim credit for here, that is helpful in putting us on a path towards a balanced budget. We get there within 10 years. It slightly diminishes total spending as a percentage of our economy. That encourages more economic growth. We encourage more development of natural resources, especially oil and gas. That undoubtedly encourages stronger economic growth. And by repealing Obamacare, we know we would encourage more economic growth and more job creation. In fact, the Congressional Budget Office has estimated that within 10 years, Obamacare, if it were to stay in place, would result in 2.5 million fewer jobs in America. So that's an important part. I do want to stress there is in this town this occasional notion surfaces that more government spending somehow equates to more economic growth. That is exactly backwards. It is exactly wrong. The reality is the economy doesn't live off the government. It's the other way around. And countries that limit the size of their government as a percentage of their total economy, those are the countries that tend to have stronger growth, more job creation, a higher standard of living, and more prosperity generally. So I understand our Democratic colleagues are criticizing what we've done here. I would point out that in recent years, when our Democratic friends were in control of this chamber, they chose to do a budget just once in the last 5 years, despite a statutory obligation to do it every year. We're in control, and we're doing a budget. And by the way, when we were in the minority and had no obligation, many of us offered a budget anyway, because we feel a sense of responsibility to lay out a vision, to lay out a plan to show how we would deal with the fiscal circumstances we face. But once again, our Democratic colleagues have no plan. They don't intend to offer a plan. They have no vision, no willingness at least to share and admit to their vision. And so they have absolutely every right to criticize, but frankly, it rings a little bit hollow when they won't offer a plan of their own. So, Mr. Chairman, I will support this budget, despite the fact that it doesn't accomplish all that I would like us to accomplish, especially in getting the mandatory spending under control, which, as you know, we absolutely must do. But it is a sensible start. It does balance within 10 years by reducing overspending. As I say, modestly reduces spending as a percentage of our economy, helps to reduce our debt in absolute terms as well as a percentage of our economy, and certainly would result in stronger economic growth than the path we're on today. So I thank you for your good work and look forward to working with you for the completion of this.